I'm nearly 3 years caffeine-free, and I'd like to tell you that I'm thriving, that my decision to stop consuming caffeine was one of the best decisions of my entire adult life. But for that statement to hold any weight, I would have had to make more best decisions in my adult life. So I'll spare you the sales pitch of top 10 reasons you should quit caffeine now. I'm just going to tell you my story and how it happened, and maybe you'll find it relatable or ridiculous. Maybe you work for a big coffee and it'll make you angry, or maybe you just might be saved in a possibly slightly more than mediocre way. Basically, my experience and the story I'm going to share comes down to this. I stopped caring about what society was telling me to do with my energy and started listening more to what my body was telling me. I was working in my room and sleeping in my room, just everything in my room/prison. Caffeine-fueled anxious coding at 4 a.m. Using caffeine, basically, to push my gas pedal to the floor and going nowhere. And the companies I worked for, they also agreed I was going nowhere, so they let me go. I then had a lot of time to reflect on my relationship with caffeine. And a few gaps in my resume later, I quit coffee cold turkey for the 10th time in my life. And this time, in my deep depression, I decided, why not just quit everything? God, that sounds a lot darker than I intended. That's not how I mean it. So what it is I decided just to lean into that and listen to my body. I did minimal exercise, laid in bed, no electronics, no eating. The fasting actually made those first 4 days of caffeine withdrawal a lot easier. I don't know if it's something to do with like elevated cortisol levels or something mimicking part of the addiction to caffeine. I have no idea what it is, but it just seemed to make it easier. By the time I started eating again, the worst of it was over. The symptoms like the headache and the extreme self-loathing that usually happened when I quit caffeine, that was over in a few days. And I got through most of the harsh symptoms in 2 weeks. But my motivation to do anything but lay there and read with my one remaining molecule of dopamine, the motivation was not there. I'd try to get on my bike, but it felt like I had like weights on my legs. I started lifting weights again, and it just felt like, wow, I'm just standing here lifting objects. So again, still leaning into listening to my body, I gave myself a break again. And instead of pressuring myself to become a useful member of society, I kept laying there and reading when I wasn't walking in nature. And I got into like breathing exercise and meditation and all that kind of stuff. And I just leaned into feeling the discomfort with feeling blah. So through various spurts of this fasting, I noticed my energy levels weren't actually because of the lack of caffeine. It was actually tied to my food. And I won't get into my diet, really. And I'm sure any diet will work for anyone. I'm vegan, and you're probably the millionth person I've told that this week. So I think it was tied to gut health and or blood sugar things and fiber, everything. My mental clarity coming back, my physical energy coming back. And this is probably only like a little more than a month in. So this isn't that bad. So a few times that meager trickle of neurotransmitters turned into a full-on flow. And I felt almost manic. Manic for me is like functional depression for most people. But I did notice something. I was motivated in like the creative pursuits of my life, like with music and writing and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, you would not even know me if I hadn't quit caffeine. I wouldn't be able to do this right now. Like and subscribe for all that creative genius, thanks. But the other thing I noticed, as you know, I'm a bike touring channel, I guess. My main motivation for this is how much this helped me with bike touring. No coffee stop. You don't have to stop to make coffee. You don't have to stop to buy coffee. You don't have to stop to pee because of the diuretic effect of the coffee. You don't waste your hydration because you're counteracting all that hydration you're doing with the diuretic. You're saving money. Coffee is expensive, especially if you want good coffee. I'm still a coffee snob even though I'm caffeine free. Anyhow, it just made touring easier. Steadier energy. Everything was just simple. Better sleep too, right? Like everything stable. Blood sugar stable. So this all seemed too good to be true, didn't it? Because I was then hired for a short work contract. Every minute of that job was like the virtual equivalent of having to wash dishes all day. But I did drag myself through the job with no passion and doing the bare minimum. on caffeine, I think my battle was mostly fighting anxiety and these kind of thought loops. And off caffeine, I'm just fighting boredom. So it's anxiety versus boredom, really. But what caffeine really showed me that it had been hiding the fact that I wasn't passionate about my work. It was just covering things up, right? That's what caffeine does. But in this economy, you take what you can get. So I thought I'd try my hand at substitute teaching. Turns out being calm and caffeine free is actually pretty useful as a substitute teacher. It works pretty well on the chaotic / sociopathic 13-year-olds. I just calmly meditate through it, just dissociate when they're all screaming. But what my point is here is that it made something very clear to me, that we live in a system that is run by and occupied by caffeine-crazed lunatics. So we have children that are being marketed to by like prime energy drinks. They're smashing back energy drinks, and then we have adults reacting to them because they're all hyped up on caffeine. It's just perpetuating not a nice cycle. It's just a chaos. It's kind of like, have you seen that meme, that spider web meme on the different drugs? But then they show what the web looks like on caffeine. But it's a mess in it. That reminds me of our society. It actually reminds me when I was coding, like the code base, it was just a mess like that. I'm just a little calm spider trying to get across this chaotic looking web. Female spiders engage in sexual cannibalism. I'm trying to make an analogy here and I forgot. What is my subconscious doing here? Anyway, here's my paranoid theory. Caffeine, the second most traded commodity in our planet, just under oil. It tricks you into enjoying the system. The system. It makes things like doing your taxes fun. Unless you're one of those special people that likes forms and words like policy and equity. Like my eyes are open now. I see how much the world depends on it. I think we would collapse without coffee. Our system would collapse without caffeine. It is so reliant on caffeine. But what I learned from that is I want a slower pace. I don't want to have to keep up with what society expects my energy to be like. So if there's a lesson here from my nearly 3 years caffeine-free, it's this. Your body will tell you what you need. Listen to your body. Society will not tell you what you need. It will tell you how to be just burnt out and stressed out. So you're choosing between that invisible prison of anxiety or caffeine-free. You're just painfully aware of that prison. What's essential in being caffeine-free is having a lot of outdoor time. Bike touring is a nice slow-paced thing, unless you're one of those people that does it for racing. I'm not one of those. I'm slow. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I would be remiss if I did not mention poop in at least 25% of my videos. Since quitting caffeine, my digestion has improved so much. This is the one thing where I would solidly say caffeine is bad. People having their morning coffee, they rely on that to have good bowel transit time to poop. Rely on eating fiber. Eat more fiber. And less screen time. Now stop watching me while you're on the toilet. It should not take this long to poop, Stephen.